14 million seniors living alone.
They want to keep their grip on their independence.
You know, my mom, my dad, they're ready to sail on through, and they have I don't know.
Right. And they do not like Uber. Like, I think a lot of people are really suspicious.
Yeah. I think
are they going to get my information?
Yes.
Until that time, it's your responsibility.
If we see you on the news.
Oh my goodness.
She's like, that's where I want to be. That's where I'm in. I mean, it's fun. Right.
It's very fun.
Welcome back to the LifeChoice Hospice and Palliative Care podcast. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're excited to have some really special guests with us. We have Dr. Kristen MaGuire, Dr. Missy Drake, and licensed clinical social worker Deb Torres. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Today, we're going to be talking a bit about seniors and specifically loneliness and isolation that they experience. Before we get started, I would love if you ladies could share a little bit about yourselves and your connection to the senior population.
Sure. Okay. I'm Kristen MaGuire. I am an emergency medicine physician. Known Dr. Drake here for many, many years. We both are emergency room physicians. And so we, on a very daily basis, deal with the senior population in our patient base. We also are daughters, mothers, sisters, and so we deal with loved ones that are also in that population as well. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Dr. Drake. You can call me Missy. I have been an emergency physician for, oh my gosh, 20 years. And we deal with seniors on the daily. I also have a mom of 5 kids, and we also started a business, Dr. Daughters. To deal with, and we deal with seniors a ton, and this is a common thing, is loneliness. We see it in the ER, we see it with our clients, and it's something I think we probably really need to talk a lot about.
Absolutely.
My name is Deb Torres, and I'm a social worker, and I have been a social worker for 38 years, which is crazy, but it's true. And I interface with seniors all the time. So I'm a birth doula and a death doula, and then I'm also a social worker, and I provide support to seniors in my office in Barrington. So, yeah.
Thank you. And thank you again all for being here. I'd like to kind of deep dive into very broadly combating isolation and loneliness for seniors. You know, I think that we... The issue isn't new, but I think it was magnified. We really started to notice it, I think, during COVID. Going to see a loved one or just hearing these stories, people in skilled nursing facilities, assisted living facilities, even seniors at home, right? So I'd love to kind of talk with you all about that.
I think we saw it too. There was a ton of isolation. We all felt kind of lonely, but it was a bit of a shared experience. So now coming out of COVID, now we've been out of it for a few years, I think now we don't really have a reason to feel lonely. Before, we were all kind of lonely and we were finding new avenues and Zoom. And now people, and I think especially seniors, are isolated and don't have the excuse to be isolated anymore. So now it feels even more lonely. And like you said, it's not just seniors. I mean, we can feel lonely. I can feel lonely in a crowded room. Yeah. And it's not necessarily even just living alone. Yeah. It can be that you feel lonely even with the people you're with. So I have 4 teenagers. And my gosh, there are times that they can feel lonely as well. So I agree. I think COVID made it worse. But then now that we're out of it and everybody's out and about, I think seniors are still suffering with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the issue is like compounded by, is there a physical limitation to that? Is there a mental limitation to that? Is this a new behavior? Is this something that's historical, right? And I think we can, kind of look at it in that lens too. But thinking more about, what is out there in the community in terms of things that, may help a senior get more active. But before we kind of get into that, I'd really love to talk, when you're in the ER, things that you're seeing, what are these health issues that you're seeing related to loneliness, right? So really talking about some of those health challenges that are associated with isolation and loneliness, right? Maybe they're not coming in with a diagnosis per se, but things are happening because of this, right?
Yes, I think we do see a lot of anxiety and depression that bring a lot of our seniors in, and some of those other medical illnesses they might be dealing with are just becoming worse, whether they're not reaching out and talking to their physicians about concerns of theirs, or even their own family members don't have access to getting their medications sometimes because they feel like they're not connected to whatever the other means that we get our medications and treatments by. They just feel like they're isolated and they can't do that. And so we see a lot of exacerbation of pre-existing disease. We see a lot of anxiety and depression because of the loneliness and isolation. And then we also just know that there are medical conditions as well that are heightened and increased by their own right because of loneliness and isolation. I don't know if you want to talk about some of those. Or
Yeah, well, and I mostly work the night shift. So it is wild, the number of elderly that come in the middle of the night, and they live alone. I think it's one thing I read, that there are 14 million seniors living alone. That is a lot. By the year, I think next year, they think there'll be 20 million seniors living alone.
by next year.
Yes, by 2026. So, and I think it's like something crazy, like 67% report being lonely, which makes sense, right? You're living alone. Of course you're going to be lonely. And then there's all those circumstances that lead to that. But it's amazing how many that will come with chest pain that will come in. And then they also equated that the weight or the stress of being lonely is equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That is wild. I mean, you think about how we attack smoking as a community or as a health platform about how it's unhealthy. Maybe you should take that same directive towards loneliness. Right? It's ways on that. And you were talking about Takasobu, the heart condition. This is a legitimate heart condition that is cardiologists see, that is a diagnosis now that comes out of this.
Yeah, so we see people come in with chest pain, and that might be related to some anxiety. It might be actually medically, some medical pathology associated with that. But a lot of our seniors, I think, in the middle of the night, there's a lot of insomnia. There's a lot of isolation. They don't feel like they can call their children and say, hey, I haven't been feeling great the last few days. Or maybe they have nobody to call, but we hear people over and over say they don't want to burden other people. And so they almost,
Huge.
they feel as though loneliness is their only option. And to your point with Takasubos, have you guys ever heard of this? It's a cardiomyopathy, which means the heart doesn't pump as effectively. But we've seen people come into the ER from emotional stress, and basically their heart goes into sudden failure. So it's the broken heart syndrome that we hear about. And it's a true phenomenon. There's actually physiology behind it where the portion of the heart is not pumping correctly. It kind of balloons out. Takasubo, I believe, is Japanese for it's an octopus. You'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
but basically,
it is.
On ultrasound, when we would get ultrasounds on these people, we saw that a portion of the heart ballooned out and thus was not functioning. So people literally have broken heart disease, and people can recover, people cannot. But it's a real thing,
right? And they think it comes from like an emotional stress.
Oh, it's certainly.
I mean, it's not from.
Yeah, I don't think they think it.
Yeah,
I think they're pretty sure.
Broken heart.
Yeah, broken heart syndrome. So that is a real thing.
But it increases stroke risk. It increases
dementia risk.
Dementia. And you figure if you're not using your brain, you're not having those social interactions, you're going to decline more and more. And then physical disability too. Yeah. For sure. Yes. Do you guys see that?
So I'm thinking of an individual who lost his wife recently. When I say recently, probably like a year ago. And she was everything, right? She was, all the goodness in the world was her. And he just loved her so much. So when she died, he's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? so I'm from the social work perspective. He's in the maybe contemplation phase. And so it's okay. Well, where are you at right now? What do you want to do? Right. I'm lonely. Why am I here? You know, and not that he has intention, right? This is not true suicidal ideation, but he is grieving.
Sad.
He's very sad. And so, you know, him and I talk a lot about, you know, okay, well, there's this available to you. There's this available to you. So let's talk about that, right? When I'm visiting you, visit after visit, you're telling me that you're sad, you're grieving, you're, you know, okay, so I'm presenting you these options, right? What is you tell me what's better, right? You know, you mentioned you may have interest in this. You may have interest in this. I continue to follow up on it, but you're not quite there yet. So why? Right? Kind of like going back.
What's the obstacle?
What is the obstacle here? And kind of having some of those hard conversations, right? Because it's, you know, maybe it is the lesser of two evils, right? Maybe he's like, I don't know if that's for me. Well, you'll never know unless you try, right? You will never know if you don't like those groups at the senior center or these groups that can travel. There are actually on a ship, like they'll go on a cruise.
Right,
Cruises for seniors, right?
Yes.
And they, you know, there's a lot of things out there, but you'll never know if you like it if you don't try.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fear too, Sarah. And usually what I see, like with seniors, is they're kind of like very emotionally vulnerable, like from 9 p.m. until like 5 a.m.
Sure.
Yes.
And that's what I think
They come in.
Yeah, that's when
That's when my friends come in. We have a cup of coffee. Suddenly, it's so interesting because they'll come in and then they'll call an ambulance and they have real health concerns. These are legitimate. I don't doubt that they're having chest pain.
Sure.
It's or shortness of breath.
But you have your regulars.
Oh, we do. And many times they feel so much better when they're in there.
Yeah.
They have a cup of coffee and a warm blanket. We keep the curtain open. They talk to people. And then they go home. And it is an interesting.
I leveled with one of them one time, and I said, look, this seems to be a bit of a pattern. We'll make sure that you're okay.
Right.
That's why we're here 24 hours a day, the ER. I said, but if you really just need to talk, you can come and say that and not say that you're having chest pain. If you're not having chest pain.
That's exactly right.
We're here for all reasons.
That's exactly right.
We're a full service staff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. But I think to your point, Sarah, you know, some of the seniors, they have been married for 50, 60,
Absolutely.
70
Oh, yeah.
years.
This is something
And they're like this.
Yes.
They're very, very, very connected at the
Yes.
hip. And when they have a spouse that passes away, it's in many ways like an amputation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they
I
don't
totally agree.
know.
You don't know your identity
How
anymore.
to go to
They
these.
have no idea.
Right.
Missy, they have no
Yeah.
idea. And then I think that's when they flounder.
Yes.
And then they're very dismissive of, that's not for me. I'm not getting old. I'm fine. But then they return back to their couch.
Right.
You know. and
It's
they're
comforting.
watching. Yeah.
Or if
It's
you lose
comforting.
that spouse that was the go-getter, the one that was like, just come
planned
with me,
everything, right.
just come with
That's
me.
right.
And then all of a sudden,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that social one is gone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, now they've got to walk in a room where they don't know anybody and introduce themselves.
While they're
or
grieving.
It's embarrassing, it's scary, it's a lot of work.
It is. It's tiring.
Right.
It's tiring and it's exhausting because they're going outside of skill
Yes.
set that they don't normally have
Sure.
Yes.
because they were reliant upon their partner.
But kudos to that gentleman for acknowledging that he was lonely. I think it's such a prideful generation, and if we all know we're all lonely at different times, and it's not a rare experience. Maybe we can open more doors.
And you even said, though, it's maybe understanding the definition of loneliness because I've got 4 kids and yes, they have all their lives and all this. And I have neighbors, but that doesn't mean you're not lonely.
Yes.
That's
And so
Right.
maybe it's trying to understand really and look within and say, this is loneliness.
And I think something in this case that was not helpful. I mean, I think the family was very well intentioned, but it's well, Dad, you have so many things that you should be thankful for.
Oh,
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Be grateful.
Be grateful for what you have. You had all these years. That in itself is very isolating.
Oh,
That
right.
is
Then there's
like,
guilt with that.
exactly.
Well, you're not validating how they're feeling, though.
Yes.
By saying things like that.
Because I think you can be grateful and lonely at the same time.
Yes.
They're not.
And grieve. You
And
can have
grieve.
had a wonderful life in marriage and
agree.
still
I agree.
grieve.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can hold those spaces, right? That dichotomy can exist, but I think we live in a culture where you're either this or you're that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I don't mean to
gray
interrupt
area.
you.
yeah.
But I feel like we just had a loneliness talk with some seniors, and you mentioned a gray area. You're either this, you're that, and they get to a certain point in their lives, and they don't feel like they have a purpose because they're not that anymore.
That's right.
So how can they go do this?
That's exactly
And
right.
so there are multiple groups and opportunities, and maybe they don't know about them. What they learn about them, it might be hard for them to go out and do that because they just don't feel like they have a purpose in that.
And that's
It's not their identity.
I think seniors need to realize how much. I think they're underestimating the value that they bring.
100%.
And I underestimating even just how much this simple phone call to your grandkids or to your neighbor or coming across and having a cup of coffee means to all of us that are busy. Like it is sending over a meal. We have a neighbor that'll make too much food and she'll call me and say, I have extra tortillas or I have extra. It saves me from dinner.
Yeah.
It is
That's
probably the
amazing.
most welcome
Right.
call I got all day long. And it is,
Do you think she ever does that intentionally?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. If you're watching it, keep doing it. We love it. But I think they underestimate how much the phone calls mean and that we're not bothered.
Not too busy.
We're
for that.
not
Yeah.
too busy. And please reach out. Please keep reaching out to your kids. Please keep reaching out to your neighbors. And that your stories are valued. Like your showing up to groups is valued and that everybody's a little nervous when you go to the VFW for the first time or you go to the veterans group or you go to the bingo for the first time and you're not alone.
Just like when we're younger, though, and we're trying to understand, socialize as younger people and even children, there probably are some perceptions of cliques and, they've been a member of the VFW for 5 years and I'm new here and I don't fit in. So I think they're navigating these waters that they haven't had to think about for a very, very long time. But I think we also live in a very disposable society also, and a lot of them feel like they're just kind of forgotten and nobody wants the phone call. Nobody wants their home cooked meal. It's like, no.
No, we want them.
We want
We want them.
We want
We
them.
need
We love
them.
them.
Yeah, we don't even want them. We need them. I mean, our kids need them. And, if you don't have grandchildren, then the neighbor kids need them. Like, it is delightful to see someone smiling and see someone bring over tomatoes from your garden. And see all the value in being with people in your community, too, other seniors. Because what could cure loneliness is two lonely people coming together and having a cup of coffee.
That's exactly
And it sounds simple, and there are ways to get there. I think that's what's hard, is logistically thinking, like, how do I get there? How do I get to the bingo? How do I find it? Those kind of things.
I have to echo what you guys said because we live in Arlington Heights. We've been there 15 years, and we have seniors that are our neighbors.
Yeah.
And I'm not tech savvy, and our neighbors rely upon my husband for their tech support.
Oh.
And so we adore them. We absolutely adore them. My kids have helped them with their phones. And it's been a very positive experience because we want to instill, I think, in kids that there is value with the elderly and with seniors. And I think to your point, Missy, I think that we live in a culture that very much diminishes the value and we don't see the benefit of seniors. And we were over there this past week because they had some situations that came up with their computer and the printer and the Xfinity. And at the end of it, she was so adorable. She says to me, she goes, Deb, your kids need this cake. Now, I need cake like I need a hole in the head. But nevertheless,
Sometimes we all need cake. Yeah.
she gave us this cake, and it was from Costco. And it's called a tuxedo cake.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And we go back home, we take the cake from our neighbors, and my oldest daughter says, Mom, that's what I would like for my 26th birthday, is a tuxedo cake.
Oh.
And I just thought to myself, what a sweet representation where they know our amazing neighbors And that's what they had in their fridge, and we spent an hour with them, and the printer's working. But that's I think
Right.
the power of community when we're not family, but we really are family by choice.
Yeah.
So that's the value.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any, work that could be done, right, as far as like maybe a new model, something like that, before people are retiring, right?
It's a good point.
this
Well, you're
piece of
already
it-
checked in.
Yes.
Right. What is that going to look like, right? What are some things when you're maybe in a different headspace, right, to kind of plan for it, right? Because I think that in itself is a really, really big area where people lose that sense of purpose. I've retired from this position that was a very maybe large part of my identity for
Huge.
the past 40 years, 50 years, right? And what do I do now? I don't have to get up at 6 o'clock, right? Why should I?
Well, and no one needs me to get
Yes.
up. I'm not accountable to be there, and no one is waiting for me to hand in the report. No one's waiting for me to show up for the shift. And I have all day long. So that day can be long.
Yes. There's some really interesting, I don't know if you've heard of it, there's these models. I think they're actually starting to become more popular in the U.S., but in Europe, different areas, they have these communities, it's really housing, right? That everyone lives in this communal, they have a communal space, right? Everyone has their own room, but everyone has different jobs, right? You have to take care of this, you have to take care of this, you have to take care of this. And that sense of purpose really can help too.
That really does. Yeah, feeling value. We all want to feel value. And so if you're not feeling that, you're right. And feeling that big gap of having a job or whatever that was.
And it just stops, by the way, too. It's not like it's a gradual. It's just there's a date and you've retired.
And one day you're showing up and the next day you're not. And now you're not having coffee. You're not doing, you can go from an office of 200 people to now it's just you. And unfortunately, jobs keep clicking on. And you know that when you leave. I remember leaving residency or leaving a job, and the chief attending there had said to me, the head of the ER said, the crazy thing is, and you think you're so valuable as a resident and as a senior resident, and I was walking out the doors, he goes, this place will roll exactly like it did before you got here.
100%.
And I walked out those doors after being there for 4 years, and in rolls an ambulance and people running, and he was right. And I thought, it doesn't stop.
No.
And just for like everybody else, that doesn't stop. So you know that when you leave, someone's already replaced you. You've trained somebody for your job or nobody for your job. But who knows? But you go from being an expert in whatever small world or big world you were in to now no one's asking for your opinion.
Yeah.
And Sarah, I think that stresses the importance of having a plan before you retire. Like we don't want, at least I don't want to wait until it's too late, because then I think you're scrambling, you're floundering, you don't have a plan, and then we're just grasping for what should we do. Where I'm 61, if my husband and I, we talk about retirement. We're not retiring. I would like to work until I'm 70, so that's 9 more years. My husband would like to work until he's 65. But I think that it's helpful to have these discussions about what the plan is and what the goal is early, very, very, very early.
Like anything else, right? We talk about the importance of planning for, making any formal decision, right? You have to make a plan, right?
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's, I don't know. We'll figure it out, I guess.
Once I get there,
What do they say? Not making a plan is making a plan to fail.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Failing to plan is like planning to fail.
And maybe as their kids, since we're kind of their children generation, so we're still in it. We're still raising kids. We're still working our jobs. Can bring up some of these things to our parents. Not you need to be grateful and look at you, you earned it and here you are. There's a sadness to, there's some joy in retiring and everybody waits for that day, but there's a little bit of sadness in acknowledging it and then not being like, well, now what? Well, now what? But maybe saying, have you thought of this? Or your skill set is so good at this. What about volunteering? You could bring so much value to, I know that you were an engineer and now you're retired, but have you ever thought about working with the high school? Have you ever thought about, working or consulting or doing something like that or the Boy Scout, whatever it is, but using that on their terms.
Right. Because they love it and enjoy it, not because they have to earn a living or...
Right. Or things are a lot more fun sometimes when you don't have to show up.
Right.
When people are just thrilled that you're there.
Right.
It's I always say that about part-time. It's a part-time working is a lot easier when when you don't have to be there every single day. So maybe part-time helping people is, but us as their kids could maybe help with that. Absolutely. And coming up with ideas since we're still in the thick of it.
And maybe to not, let's not assume, right? As children, as maybe the children of these individuals, let's not assume that they have a plan, but let's not assume that they don't have a plan.
True.
Right?
That's a good point.
Let's leave that kind of open-ended. So, we're getting to that point. You're going to be retiring soon, or you're already retired, right? Where are you at, right? What are your plans? What are your interests? Do you know about this? I heard about this. I'm not sure if that's something that you would like to do. But having those conversations, not, my mom, my dad, they're ready to sail on through and they have, I don't know. Right. How many times do we, think that something is one way and it's completely the opposite?
That's true. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. And maybe giving them 2 things to look forward to. Yes. So if you're looking and planning, and again, letting them know their value in our own lives. Like, I would love you to be here. I would love, and maybe making it a little bit easier. And this is how you can do it. Being like, I need you to show up at this time and this, which I can be really bad at that. I can be like, I need you here and I need you now and I need you. Well, this is the way you can do it. I know traffic is tough, or I know this is tough. Maybe if you leave at this time or you
just give some structure.
Or even rides. I know I feel like a lot of my clients sometimes have trouble with, well, I would love to go to that group, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. Right. And they do not like Uber. I think a lot of people are really suspicious.
It's intimidating, right? Because of things you've heard. And also, in fact, my mom was, what was the discussion we just had? That she was going to go see a show in the city with 2 other ladies, and they were going to walk from the train station somewhere. And I said, well, Mom, don't take this wrong way, but have you ever taken an Uber? Do you know how to get an Uber? My mom is fairly tech savvy, and she's just turned 70 yesterday, so she's not.
She's a spitfire.
She is a spitfire, but I don't think she could navigate an app to get an Uber, and so that's intimidating. So not only is it intimidating that you have this stranger that you think is unregulated because you're so used to a taxi cab and there being some sort of regulations to that. Now they don't know how to navigate to get.
Right, because someone's showing up in their private car, which is so normal for us because we came of age with it, but they're like, wait a minute, wait a minute, I'm getting in somebody's car.
Just get the app. What?
Right.
What?
Another one.
I think
are they going to get my information? Which is a whole other topic.
But a whole other topic, though. A whole other topic is their population is vulnerable to those sorts of things. That's exactly right.
Yes.
And
that's on another podcast.
That's a whole other episode.
Right.
But no, I think that for good reason they have a bit of a skepticism and they just, but it's very intimidating. And so then they just feel, all these things go through their head. Oh, forget, I'm not going to go see the show. I'm just not going to go.
I'm not doing it. Yes.
I'm not going to go. Yeah. And the other thing I think is interesting when you guys were speaking, I was thinking how they want to keep their grip on their independence. Yes. And part of that is I'm not leaving my home where my husband and I lived for years. I raised my kids. I'm not doing that. Right. But then what you are doing sometimes is you are kind of auto-isolating because that just really doesn't fit your lifestyle anymore in many ways. So if you can maybe have conversations with parents earlier about, hey, you guys are very active, very able, very physically capable. But let's talk about maybe downsizing into a senior community. Yes. Because then when it gets to the point where, like you said, grasping, they're already there. There are things in place, there are activities, there are people with commonalities. Yep. Now your neighbor who maybe was a caterer all her life and she no longer works, but now she likes to bake for friends. And so that keeps her purpose. And I feel like it's such a community that can just be cut off and lost because they want to maintain independence.
That's right.
That they're not necessarily losing. It just looks different for them.
That's right. It's
You're
changing.
right, they're not.
It's a change.
It's changing. I love what you said about the driving, because one of my older friends actually is a friend of my youngest daughter who's 24.
Oh.
And do you know, she hired her to drive her into the city to see a show.
Yes.
And
My grandma used to do this all the time. There was
it was a great
two
That's
high
a
school
great
boys
idea.
used to take her to bingo. This is before Uber. I wish we would have capitalized on that. My grandma, God bless her soul, at that time did her own Uber, and they would drop her off at bingo, and sometimes these high school boys would stay with her and play, and then they would come back.
And she had a comfort level there, and they made a few bucks. And
And they laughed and they giggled, and and they made $20. But
That's right. And she trusted him. And that's what the value is. That's where I think that's the relationships of the older with the younger. Because then, there is a mutual respect and there is mutual gain and there is a mutual, value.
Yes.
Because they're like, okay, I'll pick you up at whatever time. Okay.
I'm telling you, so as seniors, if there's any seniors, please ask, because these kids would love to. I have a bunch of teenagers. I think my kids would be tickled to drive somebody or to be in a conversation. And I mean, they're babysitting and doing that, but actually I think driving somebody to an event or to downtown is probably even more fun.
It's huge.
To your point about starting the discussion about moving and when you're ready to downsize, is these communities are pretty cool.
Oh, there's so much to do.
Go visit. I mean, they are not taking your independence. And I was equated to like senior citizen college, because it is like having the social life of seniors. And sometimes you just want to be with people your age. I mean, I get we can be a lot and our kids can be a lot. And so sometimes you just want to be with people that you can have a regular conversation with at your speed about topics that you enjoy and feel the same way you do. But they're so cool. They do such cool things.
Oh, yeah.
A friend of mine tried to buy, one of my best friends tried to buy a place at the Villages, like as a 40-year-old, because she wanted to get her slot in early and they would not sell it to her. She's like, that's where I want to be. That's where I'm in. I mean, it's fun.
Right. It's very fun.
You can't buy there. A lot of these places, you have to be a certain age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're right.
yeah. My mom lives
They're
in
like,
a
peace
community.
out. Get out of here.
Yeah. My mom lives in a community and you have to be at least 55 to live there.
Yeah.
They're not keen on a lot of for example, like she was so excited because there was a pool and she said, oh, your kids can come swim in the pool. And then people are like, the kids would come and she could just kind of gather that they weren't, not that they weren't welcome, but they weren't welcome because this is their space. This is, this isn't the kids' pool.
It's like the all adult, like if you go to an all adult inclusive,
So there is
and then there's kids there, you're like, wait a minute.
But there's an
I did not sign up for
what's
that.
the word? Exclusivity?
Yeah.
Am I correct? For a reason, though, right?
That's
And so,
right.
it'd be nice to get your spot in at the Villages. But they're like, come back in 20 years.
Right.
I went to tour one of the areas around here last week.
Oh.
Gorgeous campus, so much to do. And we went, they actually had like a little pub area even, and it looked just gorgeous. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be so nice to, have something here as far as education and she's like, oh, no. You don't take up their pub time. Like this, they don't let you, they will be mad. I said, oh, that's a good point. I actually, I respect that. I'm like,
We need a middle-aged community like that. I think
Yeah, where's our pub?
middle-aged living community. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
yes.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And I like that. I like that they maintain boundaries to a degree because once they find their niche and they feel comfortable and they found their people and they no longer are feeling lonely, then they should protect that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think people should know too, if you don't live in these places, you can still attend some of these things. Like there's a lot of really fun stuff that you can still go to in different, even in the park districts and whatnot. But there is a lot of resources. And we were talking about rides. Like there's an elder care. I'll find it. But there's elderly ride shares and whatnot. That then you can feel safe. They're vetted drivers. They're kind of like senior citizen Uber.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess the question or the idea is really twofold, right? How can the larger population support seniors in their ability to do this, right? How can we support them in this? And then how can we, maybe as healthcare professionals, work to empower them to take action and do some of these things that we know can be helpful, right? I think it's kind of, both of those things.
I think my first response is there's an intentionality and an engagement that I think we need to do a better job as a culture.
Yes.
I know that for me, sometimes I go to Trader Joe's and I shop at Trader Joe's and I see seniors, right? They may be struggling with their grocery cart or the groceries, or they can't find a cart or whatever it is. And I think that if we make decisions to be intentional and engage them and ask them if they need help, I think it's huge because they don't get the feeling that they're
They feel
dismissed.
invisible. Yeah.
Right. They feel invisible, like they feel seen. I think that's the first step, is we need to see our elderly.
And make them know and feel seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the first step, I think.
I would agree.
And ask the questions. I think, Sarah, like you said, just asking those simple, where are you at? How do you feel? And making it feel validated. And that they're not alone being alone. I mean, that is a shared human experience to be lonely.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You are,
It's
it
almost
is
inevitable.
not rare. It is inevitable.
It's inevitable.
In any stage of our lives. I mean, 5-year-olds feel lonely. We all go through that. It is, and it's okay. And it's valid to feel lonely.
I agree.
And that we can do something about it.
And there are so many actually community programs that are available to people through townships or other organizations. And the truth is they just don't know about them.
Absolutely.
And everything nowadays is on the internet or what have you. And if they don't access those means of communication, so it's recognizing it, make them feel seen and validated, but also somehow letting them know that there are things out there and help them understand that there are things they can be engaged in. I don't know the best way to do that other than a one-on-one basis.
Yeah.
But just to educate them that there are resources out there and help them get connected to them.
I think there's different points of entry. There's different points of access, right? So, along the healthcare continuum, maybe having a social worker or whoever it is who's kind of face-to-face with them. Because sometimes I think this information, it's not done on the first time. It's not, they don't accept it on the second time. They don't, maybe it's the 10th time. It's like, oh my goodness. Yes.
Yes.
This is
Did
what
you
we
let
were
that
talking
idea
about.
marinate a little bit? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And maybe they weren't ready for it at that time. But so how do we get that information across? I think a lot of it is going to be repetition, maybe through different ways, through things like podcasts or things like senior centers, or maybe a friend of a friend, experienced it, and then, they did it. Maybe I will do it then, right? That it becomes more familiar.
Or maybe tap into the community. So as with Dr. Daughters, we notice that we have clients that are of the senior year age, but we also become more helpful to the sandwich generation is what we call it. So it's the children of these people. And so if we tap into them too, empower them that, these things are available for your parents, and just help them help their parents as well is, I think, important. Another way to kind of get the repetition in if they're hearing it from all these different angles.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we could do a better job as doctors too.
Oh,
I think
100%.
we could. That'd
Especially
be
in the ER,
interesting.
because we're very focused in the ER. Okay, very fast paced. Everyone's coming in. Are we stabilizing them? Are they having life threats? Are they not? Okay, next.
Right, it totally. It's the
That is
truth. It's
truly
no matter
the
what it is.
truth.
Oh, thank goodness you're fine. You will go home, and then we end it, and we'll probably see him the next night. So instead of being like, here's an idea, like, why don't you call this? Why don't you call this? And maybe like reaching out, maybe we could do it better, and knowing that seniors love going to the doctor, that maybe we reach their primaries. And they always need to go to the doctor. That's a part of life, again. I mean, you're going to have to go. So maybe reaching out to primaries and even at their front desk, having some resources for whatever, most people go to doctors right by where they are. So if it's in Palatine, Mount Prospect, where, Evanston, wherever you are, those primaries having a list, especially if they're not getting emails or jumping onto websites, having a list of, hey, did you know that, there's senior bingo night at Friday nights at St. Michael's. There's this VFW, and putting that resource and handing them out to their patients. That's an entry point that can reach a bunch, and being like, hey, we have a bunch of patients that go to these. We have a bunch of patients that, and they have a blast doing it. Yeah. And then they kind of get looped in because then you hear about one. But I definitely think we could do a better job than, they're not having a heart attack. Okay. It's, good luck and we'll see you next week when you're lonely again. So that would be probably a better way to do it. Give them some resources.
I was going to say maybe upon discharge. Yeah, well, there's so many ways that we could reach them.
And our social workers are great about it. They're really good about coming in, but they're not always with us.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I think also seniors are very attached to paper.
Yes.
100%.
Well, clearly we are too.
As we're all like, we love paper.
But no, they like to hold something. They can look at it again, come back to it.
Yes. And that is a huge access point. And I think that's why flyers and brochures are so helpful, because they have to have time. And it goes back to what you're talking about with their independence. They want to be able to make the decision on their time. And if they're looking at a flyer for a month, they may go, maybe I should give a call. Right? So I think paper is one way that we can, and more collaboration among, I think, the doctors, the social workers, the nurses, the townships. We need to be doing a better job, I think, in partnerships.
Just reaching them, like you said, Sarah, because there actually is a ton. And just reaching them and letting them know it is not hard. Like taking out those obstacles and being like, it is, taking the first step is always the hardest. But realizing once you get there, just like anything, I think for all of us to go to an event, you're like, oh, I got to get dressed. I got to pick out a dress.
It's a process.
For me, sometimes as much as I enjoy doing stuff, it's just like, oh man, now I got to brush my hair. Now I got to, put on makeup. And to a senior, that can be a lot, because then there's the ride.
Yes.
Or the physical debility.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I have a wheelchair. I have this. I have a cane.
I remember there was, when my daughter was small, we were at my in-laws' house, and there was a neighbor who wanted to come and meet the baby. And they lived several hours away, so this is a trip, and she only had one time really to meet the baby. But it took her a couple hours just to get over because she had to shower. Which we didn't think she had to shower, but she felt, I want to be presentable.
That's right. That's right.
Which is 100. I get that for sure. Yeah. But it was just hard for her to do so. And so it just was this long, drawn-out afternoon just for her to come over and say hello. And if you can imagine, just to get to the store, get to bingo, whatever, if this is what they deal with on a daily basis, that's a lot. And I can see why people say, I'm not going. I'm not doing it. It's too much.
Yeah. And I think realizing, too, putting ourselves in that situation, that we're all going to end up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We are all, aging's inevitable. Yes. So we are all going to be 70. We are all going to be 80. And God willing, we might be 90. So we're all going to be there, and remembering that we could slow down for a minute and say, what does that feel like? And what would we feel like in that? And then putting ourselves, just walking in those shoes a little bit.
Absolutely. Because it gives empathy.
Empathy for sure.
It gives empathy that we're right behind you, right? We're literally all right behind you. And yeah.
I think, we see seniors oftentimes at, maybe not a great time in their life, right? This is maybe one of the worst days that they've had. But to know, if we're able to understand who they are beyond this point, right? Who were they before this, right? If you are able to truly listen to their story, so I've left visits that I'm just in awe of this person and their accomplishments, and allowing them to have that dialogue really is, it's good for them to share, right? Totally. You're so much more than who, this issue that you're dealing with right now. We'll talk about that, but who are you? I think so often in the medical community, it's, okay, I need to do this, and this. Right. I got to get all my charting done. I got to ask my questions. I have to do this. And there are so many times when depending on the environment as well, but how often do seniors have an interaction where there is absolutely no contact, right? When is the last time these people sometimes have felt truly cared for?
Yes.
Right? You know, okay, on to the next one, on to the next one.
Right,
But
right.
more than just a number.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it takes time.
Yes.
You know, Sarah, that's the other thing I think with seniors, because there's a little bit of suspicion or like, what do you want? What do you need from me? I'm not opening the door.
Yep.
And then if it's just have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, right?
Yes.
And then they're like, oh, you can stay, you know. But I think that there's such incredible opportunity to hear where they come from. One of my dearest gals, she's 100.
Oh.
And when I talk to her, you guys, I could talk to her until the cows come home. Because she's just so, there's so much life, right?
Yes.
There's so much life. I mean, her experience, and it all comes down to a can of pop.
Yeah, right.
It comes down to
There's
a
so
can
much
of pop.
wisdom.
Because
Yes.
she was born in a time where penicillin was not invented. And so, and what was the recommendation, right? You take pop and you stir it around, and that's what. And so she's 100. She loves pop.
Yeah.
She loves pop,
I do too.
right?
I've already had a Diet Coke. I don't know what time is it. Yeah. I'll have another one on my way home. Yeah. I'm with her. I feel like it cures a
I
lot.
think it cures a lot. And when I walk in, she goes, "Did you bring my pop?" And I'm like, "Heck no! I'm never going to say no to her."
Yeah.
I'm like, "We shouldn't say no to a 100-year-old woman who wants a pop."
I'm gonna make sure people know that about me. When I'm 100 years old, and I would
That's
like
right.
a Diet
See?
Coke on
You
the
can have
way.
on the
Whatever
plan,
you
Missy.
want.
That's
Right,
on the plan.
right.
But
I
I
love
think
that though.
it's
I
beautiful.
tell any new team member who starts, I tell them one of the most important things that we can do is establish that relationship.
That's
If
right.
we don't establish rapport,
That's right.
you are going to hear everything under the sun. I'll do that. Oh, yeah, I already have that done. Where is it? My daughter, my son, it's in a drawer.
That's right.
You know,
yeah.
get out of here, right?
That's right.
But if you can establish that relationship,
right.
that's when some of that work really starts to happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is true. They do.
true.
It is, especially the baby boomer generation is a
Yes.
super hardworking,
Right.
really
Yes.
prideful,
Yes.
and for a reason. They've worked really hard. They've raised great kids. They've done their work, and they're an awesome generation. And they do. They've got it all under control. And until you ask those questions, do you say, do you? And us noticing it, and
Yes.
saying, and them noticing it in each other. I think too. I think that seniors have a responsibility to each other too, to say if you see a friend that's now
right.
not coming out, that's now not going to things, go pick them up. Or
Right.
get them a ride, or find that neighbor,
drop over,
or
right.
if you realize they've had an injury, like having an injury or a surgery is a big deal in anyone's life. But now all of a sudden, now that you have chronic pain or something like that, can be keep you at home now for where you don't want to ever go out. And realizing like, listen, I'm going to come get you, or I'm going to sit down and have a cup of coffee or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
But to each other and taking care of each other.
Absolutely.
But they do many times. I mean, how often do we see it? Like, I've got this. No, they don't. And don't burden my kids. Don't call them. My husband's a physician, and he's always saying, burden your children. They are waiting for the call, and we are. So burden us. And it is you raised us.
Right.
Like, make the phone call. We'll take you to the appointment. Or, and if we can't, we will figure it out.
That's right.
But half the time they don't even know that their parents need something.
No, we don't know. No, don't wake them up. But the funny thing is they're okay about wake up the doctor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but don't wake up my daughter.
Right.
Yeah. She has to work tomorrow. Is my doctor coming in at 2 a.m. to see me? I'm like, oh, no. But don't wake up my daughter to come get me.
Right.
Like, your daughter doesn't even know you're here.
Yeah.
So we're going to give her a call. And I've never had a daughter be like, ugh. Like, it's more out of concern. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Let me get my brother.
They're relieved.
Well,
right?
they want to know. They don't want to know when they get
No,
home.
That's exactly right.
No, right.
They're relieved. Because then if they know when they get home, then they're going to be upset. Mom,
Or what did the doctor say? That's
What
my
did the doctor-
favorite.
What did the doctor say?
What did the
Nothing.
doctor say?
Nothing. Everything's
Yes.
fine.
Everything's fine.
Yes. The doctor didn't do anything. I promise you, we did something. We did something.
That's my favorite.
We are paid to do things.
Yes.
We do things.
I was just in the hospital last week, a different hospital. What they do for you? They did nothing.
Of course.
They did nothing for me. Okay.
And then we look up their records, and they like had to
fine.
see, short of going to surgery, we have scanned their entire body. Yeah. Sometimes we do too much. But
many times.
yes. But
Another episode.
they didn't do anything. Did they do
like
an EKG? I don't know. There's stickers on my chest, but they still have the stickers when we see them.
Minimizing.
Yeah.
I had a small heart attack. Right?
Yes.
So
That's
right.
It was no big deal.
Here are the stickers. Do something with them, Missy.
I
and
don't even
Kristen.
know why they're keeping me. I
Yeah.
don't even know why I'm fine. And then you get on, you're like, oh, I had one patient one time that I was like, so I said, can I tell your son everything? Yes. And he said, I said, well, your dad has prostate cancer. And the guy was like, what? Yeah. He was like, see him every week.
But the dad knew. It's not that you didn't
Yeah.
discover it. The
Oh,
dad knew.
oh no, yeah,
Right.
the dad knew.
Right.
The dad knew, and now to metastasize, that's where. So share.
Sure.
Share. We are not. You are not
Yes.
making us worry. We are worried because you're not sharing.
Yes.
Yes.
So share, burden your kids. Using the word, we shouldn't even use the word burden, but they like that word. So
Right.
you're not a burden.
Right.
You raised us. It's time for us to give back.
That's right. We have two daughters. They're 25 or 26 actually, and 24, and we had given them access to our portal.
Oh, yes.
That's a great
Yes.
idea.
So
I'm asking for that all the time. I'm like,
Oh, I just asked for it
can I
this
have your
morning.
portal?
Yeah.
all the
Right.
time, but it was a game changer
Yeah.
because the girls are older. So they're like, okay, now we see what's happening. Now we see
Right.
like what our health history is because they're in their mid-20s. So now they got to find PCPs and
Yeah.
OB-GYNs, and all these things. And I think it should be shared.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea because when it's not shared, then I think the wheels of the bus fall off in the imagination.
This is going to be, I think the next podcast is sharing information. I think we
Yes.
could go down a
Yes.
rabbit hole with that.
Yeah. I had a patient last night who was 96 and probably was just in her slow decline, a natural decline, end of life. And I think the daughter knew it. Had just been in the hospital last week and did all these things, but nothing was going to change the natural trajectory. So she was in the ER last night, and she wasn't imminently dying, but she was in the dying phase and process. And the daughter, I think, finally caught on, and she came out of the room, and she said, so we had the conversation about end of life and all this, and she said, we have talked about it before. I know what she wants. And she goes, I'm the power of attorney. I know what I would want for myself. And I think it's time to do that for my mom. But if they didn't, we see people all the time who've not had the conversations.
Yes.
There's
exactly
been no shared experiences among health histories. And you don't want to get in that point where you just don't know now what your mom wants. So it's important to have those conversations early. So that you can have a peaceful transition and just slowly accept things. And
That's right.
That's a very heavy burden for
It's
children to bear.
I just told
I
her.
wasn't sure
yes.
if my mom actually
Yep.
wanted this. Now she can't speak for herself. What if she didn't want it? You know, it's a very difficult position.
So she was, even though she'd had these conversations and felt comfortable with the next step of doing a do not resuscitate and all of that, she was crying because it was the gravity of it.
It's a mourning.
It was the realization that we're maybe on this final phase.
That's right.
And I told her, I said, but you are giving yourself and your mom a gift right now.
That's
You
exactly
are
right.
respecting wishes you know she
That's
has.
exactly right.
And you're relieving the self of that burden when the time comes.
That's
So
right.
look at this as a gift for both of you. And she took that, I think.
Grace.
And a grace, right.
Yeah.
I've heard children say after the fact, they'll say, while this is probably the worst day of my life, right, when they die, but they also say, I'm thankful that I know that this is what my mom wanted.
That's exactly
This
right.
is what my dad wanted.
That's exactly
and they
right.
did it how they wanted, right? There's
That's
so
right.
much power in that.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
I think that should be our next topic.
I think
Yes.
so too.
I agree.
I think so too because
And
there's
talk
ways
about
to
it
do
for
it,
days.
and
I agree.
I agree.
Any parting words of wisdom for anyone watching today that you want to leave them with? Not to put you on the spot.
I just want to say thank you for listening to us.
Yeah.
I mean, I truly, appreciate the time that you took. I think that you hear all of our hearts. All of us are more than happy to help in whatever way we can. And I think, my parting words are have the conversation. And I love a garden hose, so I'm all about the drip feed method. So it may not come like, we're not proposing like a fire hydrant effect. I'm proposing one drip at a time.
That's a great
About
analogy.
conversation. Mom, Dad, what do you think? If we get into this situation, how do you want to land this plane? Because I think there's tremendous power when we are able to take direction from our parents and honor them with integrity and grace and land the plane how they would want. And then we get to figure out how we want to land our planes. So that would be my parting words.
No, that's great.
The garden hose.
So wise.
It's the gray hair, Missy.
No, I like
It's
it.
the
It's
gray hair.
working.
It's all the gray hair.
I'm in for it. I would say you took the first step by listening.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
and to let you know, you are not alone in being lonely. We all are lonely at different times, and it is a human experience. And to realize, I think, especially since this talk is aimed towards seniors, that you hold huge value in society and in our lives. And to use that value and realize we want it, we need it. We need the wisdom, we need the shared experiences, we need your kindness, your empathy. So share it and definitely start the conversation. Talk to your families, talk to your loved ones, talk to your friends. My guess is that you are not alone in your loneliness.
Right. I would agree. I'm not sure I can add much more to that other than just don't be afraid to have the conversation and recognize that you can be alone and lonely. They're two different things, and there are people that want to help you, and there are resources, and it's about starting the conversation.
Yeah, tons of resources and stuff for you to do out there. Absolutely.
Thank you to you all for being here today, and thank you for joining us.